Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 755. Now, today's episode, we're talking about what to do in times of feeling lost and feeling stuck. Now, I'm sure there have been many times in your life that you felt lost, you felt stuck, you didn't know where to turn, you didn't know what to do. How can we kind of get ourselves out of this situation in the quickest, even most comfortable way possible? Maybe you're feeling like that right now and you need that nudge in the right direction. Maybe you're feeling unhappy, maybe you're feeling anxious, maybe you're feeling fearful, worried, doubt, maybe you don't believe that you're enough. All of those things can add to the feeling of being stuck. The confusion. But a quick thing about confusion, by the way, because sometimes when we think lost and feeling stuck, we can get confusion. But I want you to know the nature of confusion is not that you don't know. In fact, it means you've got all the pieces of the puzzle together, or in your mind, but just not together. So remember, confusion is that you have everything you need, you just need to be able to put them in the right order to make sense out of the situation. But as I said, a lot of the time in this world, people feel a sense of lust or loss, being lost and being stuck. So how can we shift that? Well, I was on my run today and I was just thinking about this. The feeling lost is an absence of self and maybe something, because we don't feel as if we're connected to the solution, or we feel like we don't know where to go. We feel lost. Like if you've ever been lost before, whether it was a kid or when you're driving somewhere, you're looking around and you're like, I don't know what to do. I have a lack of knowing of direction. I have a lack of something. There's an absence to something. So it then got me thinking, well, what's the best way to be able to get a bit of grounding or a bit of sense of direction? And I was thinking one of the ways would be to notice what you do know. Notice what experiences that you're having that you can have a sense of knowing, right? So if we feel lost, we need to be able to gravitate toward what we do know, what we do have, as a way of going, look, even though I don't know, even if I'm feeling lost, I can reflect on what I do have. Because that changes an energy within you. It doesn't give you the solution. It doesn't necessarily give you the direction. It doesn't necessarily make you feel absolutely not lost and found. But it does allow you to get back into reality of what you do know. And what you do know will have the resources, or at least the clues as to what to do eventually. So it just gets us out of that state of worry and anxiety by switching our focus. When you think about it, if we are feeling lost, we're feeling stuck, we're thinking and feeling that feeling of absence. Well, if we focus on what we have to engage in our mind a different level of thinking. We have to associate to what we do know. We have to experience something else than we presently were. So it's almost like a gateway of figuring out what has to come next. Now, the other thing I was thinking about when I felt lost, when I felt absolutely stuck. So there was a time, I may have said this before, I usually say it on my events and my seminars, but there was a time when I was trying to find a connection. Now, for some people it may be a higher truth. Some people may have called it God. Some people may have called it a higher self. Maybe a passion, purpose. But for me, I was just I'm going to just sum it up as connection. And this was in my early days of getting into doing what I was doing. I was like 20 years old. And I spent a whole year of trying to find a connection because I felt lost. I felt stuck. Not of how to get somewhere, but it was how I wanted to really feel on the inside. So one of the things I began to do was ask people all the things of how they managed to get to that place. And although it was really, really good, but it didn't quite resonate with me. So I still felt lost and I still felt stuck. So then I began to go down different avenues. So it would be reading every book I possibly could on those who achieved it, on philosophy, on spirituality, all different aspects of change and transformation, whether I agreed with it or not. A lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Esoteric kind of books. I was trying to find this connection, but I just didn't know how. I felt lost and I felt stuck each time I tried. So then I went down to the next level, which was like back then it was with the audio cassettes, and they used to come in almost like a VCR box, and it had all the tapes within it. And it was good and great, but it didn't give me what I really, really needed. And then it came to my 21st birthday, and I was outside my house and it was very, very late, and I was reflecting on all that I did to try to find this connection within myself, to not feel lost, to not feel stuck. And it was really, really powerful, because I had one of those, what I would call maybe a transpersonal experience, or something greater than yourself. Almost like if you could imagine if you were to be on the International Space Station, you look back at Earth and you just see the blue marble and you're like, oh my goodness, there's something bigger. Like, it puts things into perspective. And I had one of those kind of moments. Not that I've been to space, but I could touch something greater than myself. And in that moment, as I was reflecting, I was just considering of all the things that I did. And everything went quiet on the outside. It was late at night, but it was almost like the trees stopped. The cars stopped. There was just silence. And it allowed me to go on the inside. And when I went on the inside, that is where I found the solution. You see, I had the answer all along. The problem was, I was focusing on so much on the external, the what to do and how to get it, trying to figure out the how, and in the end, it was just always within me. Now, that may not mean much to you, but in that moment, it was a very profound experience, and I was able to get that connection so quickly. So what can this be used to apply it into your life when you're feeling lost and stuck? Well, it is about sometimes forgetting the how. And it sounds silly because you feel lost and you feel stuck and you need to figure out a way to dig yourself out of this hole. There has to be a way. There's got to be a how. And there are hows out there. There are lots of hows. Like, for example, people may enter my premium program and we just get the results very, very quickly. Just let it go, get to where you want to be. And that can affect your financial well-being, abundance. It will affect your career, your business, your relationships. There is that how, but there are other hows. But it's not always about the how. I believe the how will appear when you begin to go a little bit deeper on the inside. And remember, the external pressures that we go through in life, the fears, the worries, and the external environment may be having a big toll on you. But I think that external contrast, that resistance that we find on the outside, is actually a signal to look within ourselves, to go on a deeper level. Maybe that circumstance, those people, those situations, even if not true, I like to think it as a convenient assumption, but if I applied, would give me a better amount of success. So maybe the external noise and the stress and the not knowing how is actually leading us to our essence. It's leading to our potentiality. It's leading us to the answer. You see, then once you start to connect with who you are, and this is why to me it is vital in every single way to have an identity that is powerful. You see, when you are lost and you feel stuck, we are limiting the how because we don't necessarily believe in how to get there, and therefore about ourselves. We don't know enough. We need to know more. We need to be able to do this. Like me, I needed to get another book. I needed to go on another seminar. I needed to ask another person. It was all these external things I tried, but it didn't work until I actually realized the not knowing, the feeling of the lost and the stuck was gently and sometimes very loudly and powerfully pointing to me on the inside. You see, when you change, and we're talking about this was being broadcasted live, by the way, on YouTube. We're talking about this. There's a Wayne Dyer kind of quote, and I can't even, let me scroll up very quickly to go ahead and see if I can find it right here. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's by Wayne Dyer. I'll say it one more time. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Now, how can we apply that? Well, if I change the way I look about myself, as in who I identify with, where I'm not identifying coming from the eyes and the thoughts and the feelings and the sounds of I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, or I'm not deserving, I don't know how, I do not know how. That's the identity. Then that is seeing the world in a certain distorted, confusing way. But if I go on the inside and I start to identify with what I believe is the truth, for you are worthy, deserving, and enough, for you're capable, for you're of immense value, I then know that your unconscious mind will be transformed to then build the connection to the how. The how will appear when your identity and your self-belief and your self-certain in the known and in the unknown, in the seen and the unseen ways. It causes us, excuse me while I clear my throat, getting excited. Like I said, this is live. But it causes us to see the world differently when we see ourselves differently. You see, if we think of the other kind of quote, if you only got a hammer, everything is a nail, right? Because that's the only tool that you have. So of course, you're going to only see things that you need to hammer. Well, think about that as a belief system. If we don't believe we're worthy or enough, then all we see is doubt and scarcity and loss and stuck and dread and fear and no opportunity to move ourselves from feeling that way. But when you start to see yourself as, in my opinion, the absolute divine, the pure potential, the love, the essence, the truth, beyond the past, beyond the programming, beyond the conditioning, once you uncover and lift the veil of that illusionary despair and fear, and I'm saying it like it's easy. It's not easy, by the way. It takes time and it takes effort. But from the point of view of transformation, of being connected and finding out the how, it's about doubling down on who you are. I promise you that when you know you are worthy, when you know that you are deserving, you begin to find something extra. And that extra is a set of internal resources, the ferocious focus of getting yourself to where you want to be, looking in the right place because you're looking through the right lens. When the mindset's right, the facts don't count. Everything's showing up when it's doom and gloom, when it's all the fear in the world, when it's about the economy, when all we have is bad relationships, where everything we try, we just don't get to where we want to be, simply begins to change and transform because now you're looking through the eyes of possibility. You're looking through the eyes of love. You're looking through the eyes that you are enough. But there's something more to come out from you. You see, when you figure out why you want what you want and you realize that you are worth it, when you are so anchored in, you get found. And when you are found, you find yourself in a place which is absolutely unlimited to make the shifts and the changes that you want. And I know that to be true because I've been there too. I went on that journey when I felt like everything I did just didn't get me there. All the things of feeling lost, and I felt lost for the first 18 years of my life. I didn't know what to do. I did college program. I just thought it'd be convenient, it might be helpful, which was business. And I dropped out of business in the terms of college. And I thought, well, I just do something convenient. My dad knew someone who worked in an insurance company. There was an opening there, so I got in that way. It was convenient. It wasn't me. But it's all I thought I could do because I felt lost. When I feel lost, I coast. I'm a passenger in life. You see, there's a book, as it came to me as I said the word coast, by, I might get it wrong here, but it's called Conversations with the Devil. And it's about having this conversation throughout the whole book. And it's about how the devil is speaking the truth and has to speak the truth. Really interesting. I think it's Napoleon Hill by memory. Listened to it years ago. By the way, if you listen to it, it's a little bit freaky because it's kind of like a strange, interesting voice. But one of the things was that, whether true or metaphorical, the devil was trying to get us to coast in life, just to coast, not to do much, just to be settling, to be a passenger in life. Because then if we feel lost and we're just coasting, we don't know what we don't know, and we just think that the not knowing is just the way it should be, and therefore I'm going to play it small. But once you start to wake up and actually think about the external aspects of how you see the world, of sense of being lost or not knowing how to get there because you feel stuck, is because it's leading you to actually realize to go on the inside of you. It's making you wake up to go, do you know what? Now it's my time to double down on who I am. As I said, when your mindset is right in terms of your belief and your self-certainty in who you are, you will find that way. No matter what's showing up in your reality, it will just come to you. I believe the unconscious mind is so powerful that it will surprise you. It will look for these things. But it's hard to look for the answer when we feel limited in our own potentiality, if we see ourselves as not enough or worthy, or if we say, I feel stuck, I am lost. We need to be able to go on the inside to really reflect. And I don't mean to stay reflecting, because if we just keep on reflecting, we're not doing anything. And you may even resonate or know someone who always just needs to know more about something. They just need to acquire more information. They need to go on another course, see another therapist, another practitioner. If they just journal one more time, maybe it will get there, but there's always something more. You don't want to be just gathering information, because gathering information is just still like putting a band-aid or a plaster on something just to keep you where you are. You don't need more information, you need to know. And the knowingness of who you are, the knowingness of your true ability, then you feel like you are not stuck because you are just who you are. And then you begin to see the how. So what are some applications that we can do, or what can we do to get this into our neurologies? Number one, realize it. Make a commitment and a decision that what is showing up in our life, which makes us feel lost and stuck, is actually leading us to an awakening if we pay attention. Go on the inside and then begin to consider, what beliefs do I have about myself that is actually stopping? Or the other way of framing it in a different way is, who do you need to become to be not stuck? Therefore, it's not about the how to be unstuck. It's about, who do you need to be? And someone said on the chat, is actually Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. So close. As you said, this is being broadcasted live on YouTube. So thank you for that, Sarah. We need to get to that place of understanding in the nature of who we are. We want to be able to get to a place of the how appears because we are the powerful one to make it happen. So figure that out. Now, there are other steps to this. Now, I said in the beginning, when I went on my journey of discovering something higher than myself, or a higher truth, that's how I just simply put it, just do it simplistically. I did ask people, and I did learn a lot. Those books did help me. You see, within those people, there were strategies. But the reason why it didn't work is because I would not follow the strategy, or I'd ignore the strategy because I didn't believe I was enough to be able to make it happen. You see, that awakening, that knowing was actually I had what it takes. I knew my worth. And then that how showed up. So once you begin to work within yourself, then you begin to see these strategies. Now, I promise you this. If you have a goal and dream, if it's something that you want but you feel stuck and lost, and feeling lost, then you will make that change on the inside with your identity to then use a recipe of success. So if you are so stuck and lost, there has been someone in that position before and has overcome that. Therefore, there's evidence that it is possible. In fact, there's evidence that people have been more lost and more stuck and had more of a traumatic past, I think, throughout history, in the present, who have managed to be able to get there. So if it is possible, if there's evidence there, it can give us a sense of relief, but also success leaves clues. In other words, there are strategies out there to become who you want to be or to achieve what you want, and then it's your job to model those people or to get the advice that will get you to where you want to be. Why try to figure it out by yourself? Yes, you need the right mindset. For example, I could give you the perfect recipe for the most wonderful dessert in the world. But if your mindset is, I'm not showing up for myself, therefore I'm not showing up to cook this recipe, I'm going to use the wrong ingredients, the wrong temperature, the wrong quantities, then of course you're not going to get that most wonderful dessert. So that's why you need to get your mindset right. That self-identity of knowing your worth and your capabilities to then show up with the right quantities, to show up with the right temperature, to show up with the right ingredients. You can give someone the perfect recipe, but if they're not going to do that, or they have the limiting thoughts about themselves to make that recipe exist, then that recipe will not be successful. But it starts with you becoming who you want to be, and then you can look for that how. The how, I believe, will just appear. For example, people in my program, I actually say, forget about the how. Leave that to me. I'm the how person. I will show you how to get there. It is proven. It's a science. It's an art. It's a step-by-step system. It just works. You've just got to show up and go, I'm ready to change. I'm invested. I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to do the work. Because that decision making is a part of you which will allow you to grow. So I really think that those people will show up. The how will appear to you once you get your mindset right, and then you'll begin to apply it into your life. So when I feel lost and stuck, I begin to remember what I have, who I am, the qualities I have, the things I've done in the past, the times I've overcame the time I was lost. I mean, I've had many of these, by the way, from growing my business, but trying to become full-time as a practitioner. That's a tricky one at times, which was obviously like 20 years, almost 21 years ago. I can remember who I was in that moment of loss and stuckness. But then if I look at the times I achieved, who did I have to become to overcome that? You see, if we're looking through the eyes of feeling lost and stuck, you remain there. But if I look through the eyes of a time I overcame what I wanted, or I achieved my desire, then I'm thinking about the person who I had to become to move from where I was to where I want to be. And since you've had many experiences of having overcome issues and obstacles, because you're here today, it means you do have that strategy within you. So at the very least, consider those past times, or ask yourself, who do I need to become? Not how to get there, how to get unstuck and unlost. Think about who do you need to become? That if you were to become that person, would allow you to go and be the full person that you want to be. So you're no longer coasting in life. You're no longer just being a passenger in life. You're being the creator of your desire. You're becoming the person that you need to be, that will allow you to go through any storm, will allow you to take a decision to rise up and to live the life that you want, knowing there's always an answer. Even in my life, there are things I need to grow. There are parts of me I need to become more, and not because I need to, but I want to. There's business I want to grow, help more people. I'm not all there yet, but I ask myself, well, who do I need to become? That if I were to become that person, the very nature of being that person would allow me to not only get there in a quick, powerful way, but it will give me learnings along the way. So that's how I see the frame of reference of being lost and stuck. And if you want help with that, we are doing a smaller hypnosis session on the next episode about becoming powerful, which is really about becoming the person you need to be able to get yourself out of that situation. So watch out for that on the next episode. And of course, if you want to level up your life and you are invested in time, in money, it's not free. We only work with people who are ultra committed and decisive to really change the events of their past, so you learn and grow, so you start to know your worth at that identity level where you know, like you know, that you're unstoppable, self-certain, that you're wanting to become the person that is worthy, deserving of that raise in your job or that promotion. In other words, not feeling like an imposter, or to be able to charge what you're worth if you're a practitioner of change, if you're wanting that wonderful relationship because maybe we haven't felt worthy of that. All of those things. If you are ready to take the leap and transformation that you've always been wanting, but you've been on the edge, you've been feeling the fear of getting help, maybe it's your time to go all on you for a change, all in on something powerful. You see, when you go all in on you and your future, I believe life will never be the same again. You will see the possibilities around you. And of course, you do have to apply it by going to josephclough.info/talk. You get to choose a time on the calendar to speak with us one-to-one. And when you speak to us one-to-one, you also fill out a quick application to prepare the call, but we'll get clear on exactly what you want to let go of, exactly what you want to achieve, figure out what's getting in the way, and then come up with a plan to make it a reality. We only work with people we know we can get the success in every single way. So that's josephclough.info/talk. So with that, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, you have everything you need on the inside already. You've just got to realize who you are to figure out the how to get there. And as I said, I believe the how will appear when you're ready to truly shine and do what has to be done in every single way. So with that, I look forward to speaking to you in a future podcast, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Many thanks and goodbye.